где представлена армия побежденных, армия фашистской Германии, которая проиграла войну, и армия победителя. Мистический комплект, он действительно и называется мистический, он называется «11-я ночь», и снимался он в фильме «Мастер и Маргарита». Именно в этот комплект шахмат мастер и Воланд играют. Есть шахматы, которые исполнили дети. Им задана была тематика, и дети выполнили вот насколько смогли свою эстетику. Вот как они поняли эту игру, они вот представили на шахматных комплектах, которые здесь можно увидеть.
Кульминационным моментом 39-й шахматной олимпиады стал завершающий 11-й тур соревнований. В этом раунде команды сражались за призовые места. Игра лидеров привлекла внимание губернатора Ханты-Мансийского автономного округа Югра Натальи Комаровой и заместителя председателя правительства Российской Федерации Александра Жукова. Сильнейшие гроссмейстеры мира играли в малом зале в отдельной зоне, которую можно было определить по большой концентрации у столов лидеров, зрителей и журналистов, ожидающих исторического момента. Это Кубок Гамильтона-Рассела, главная шахматная награда. Впервые он был вручен в 1927 году команде из Венгрии. И с тех пор очень много путешествует по миру, объединяя страны и народы. И пока люди играют в древнюю индийскую игру, его путешествие продолжается. Награждение победителей 39-й всемирной шахматной олимпиады проходило в Ледовом дворце «Арена Югра». Итоги соревнований определили новое место жительства Кубка Гамильтона-Рассела. В ближайшие 2 года он будет находиться в Украине. Мужская сборная этой страны завоевала золото Олимпиады. Серебро получили россияне, а бронза досталась команде Израиля. В женском первенстве победительницами стали российские девушки. А финальным аккордом торжественного закрытия Олимпиады стала передача представителям Турции, где состоится следующий всемирный турнир, флага ФИДЕ, символа мирового шахматного единства, объединяющего людей всей планеты вне зависимости от пола, цвета кожи и вероисповедания. Ведь не зря девиз Международной шахматной федерации звучит «Gens una sumus» – «Все мы одной нации».
At the point where 2 Siberian rivers, the Ob and the Irtysh, meet, stands a small, cozy town named after the 2 peoples that live here, the Khanty and the Mansi. And despite the fact that this is a relatively young town, having been founded in the 1930s, it has an immensely rich sporting history. Khanty-Mansiysk is the administrative center of the Yugur Autonomous Region. That's how these lands in the northern Urals and the central section of the western Siberian plain used to be named. It has a population of 76,000 and is located 2,800 kilometers from Moscow. The easiest way to reach Khanty-Mansiysk is by plane. It's a 2.5-hour flight from the Russian capital. This town long ago won international sporting renown. Almost every year, winter and summer sports competitions are held here. And now, for the fourth time, Khanty-Mansiysk is welcoming lovers of intellectual games. Today, the 39th World Chess Olympiad is taking place here.
Шахматная олимпиада.
The 39th World Chess Olympiad in Khanty-Mansiysk has attracted guests from 144 countries. This is the biggest international tournament in the history of the International Chess Federation, and indeed in the history of chess. The grandiose nature of the theatrical show that opened the 39th World Chess Olympiad within its first minutes stunned spectators with its scale. In the Arena Yugra Ice Palace, a presentation that included the creation of the world, the seasons, and the mastering of the northern lands was performed. In a metaphorical form, the entire history of the Yugur region, its national traditions and customs were presented. The performance by the artists was accompanied by a laser show featuring yet more stunning special effects. The culmination of the program was the classic Anderson-Kizaritsky game, played during the first London International Tournament in 1851, and now performed on a vast chessboard by dancers from the region's choreographic ensembles. Dressed in costumes representing the pieces, they faultlessly repeated all the moves in this immortal match, which is believed to be the summit of romantic chess. The president of the Russian Federation, Dmitry Medvedev, sent a video address greeting guests and participants in the Olympiad, and the president of FIDE, Kirsan Ilyumzhinov. In accordance with the FIDE Charter, every 2 years we hold our main tournament. The key chess event, the key tournament, a tournament of nations, or the Global Chess Olympiad, where each country presents its teams, male and female. And today's Olympiad, the 39th to date, which is taking place in Khanty-Mansiysk, is setting a new record in terms of the number of participating countries. For the first time, the number of participants in the men's and women's teams has evened out. In 2006 in Turin, following the Winter Olympic Games, a session of the General Assembly was held, with the participation of 5 countries that wanted to organize and hold the Olympiad: Estonia, Bulgaria, Montenegro, Argentina, and others. Russia took part, and the Russian Chess Federation put forward the town of Khanty-Mansiysk. Why this town? Because in recent years it has been developing fast. It has been actively supporting chess, and chess is taught in schools here. A chess academy has even been built here, and already 3 World Cups have taken place here. Major international sporting competitions are always stunning, memorable spectacles, and for the organisers it's a lot of tense work. For several days, the town or city in which the competition is taking place becomes the face of the whole country. And as a rule, the colossal and barely perceptible work of a huge number of people turns the international tournaments into a huge celebration, both for the participants, for the fans of the sport, and for the local citizens. For Khanty-Mansiysk, sporting competitions and official meetings of an international level are no rarity. This World Chess Cup has been held here on 3 occasions: 2005, 7, and 9. The Tennis Development Center has been selected as the venue for the Olympiad. It's one of the largest facilities of its kind in Russia, and it has a capacity to cater for over 3,500 people. The Olympiad, as a competition held by FIDE for first place in the chess world, can trace its history back to 1927. Until 1940, this competition to identify the strongest chess players in the world was called the Tournament of Nations. With each passing year, the number of participants has grown. The Second World War led to an extended interruption in the holding of the tournament, but in 1950, the event was again staged, this time in Yugoslavia. The rules for the first Olympiads were fairly arbitrary: 3 rounds over 2 days, or 2 rounds every 3rd day. time limits, and free movement of the team players around the boards. During the course of the tournament's history, however, the rules have been amended on several occasions. Now there are just 11 rounds in the competition, and each team has 4 main players and 1 substitute, each playing at a certain board. Arriving late at a match results in a technical defeat. The players can even be tested for performance-enhancing drugs. The matches take place in 2 halls, the Bolshoi and the Mali, the large and small halls. Despite its size, this is the Mali or small hall. The best teams in the world play here. While the umpires are making final arrangements, setting up clocks, filling in special forms, etc., the chess pieces have frozen in expectation, waiting for the planet's best players to arrive and compete for the title of Olympic champion. The hall slowly fills up with intensely focused players, supporters and journalists. Players prepare themselves for the coming game in different ways. Some carefully listen to instructions from their trainers. Some of them nervously walk between the tables, and others relieve the stress by cracking jokes. At 1500 hours, precisely local time, the competition's main umpire signals the start of the first round. The umpires at the tables indicate that the players are ready, with raised hands. And then the order is given for the clocks to be started. The game has begun. Chess is perhaps the quietest of sports. Following the umpire's signal, it becomes so quiet in the hall that you can't believe that there are about 500 people here. There is only a barely audible light whispering and the clicking of cameras, which can only be used in the room for the first 10 minutes of play. Unlike similar competitions in other sports, in the chess Olympiad the winner is established by the number of points won. And if a team loses a round, that doesn't mean it's knocked out. It carries on playing. The competitions are held according to the so-called Swiss system, which allows a winner to be identified with a limited number of rounds and a large number of players. During the holding of competitions with the use of the Swiss system, in each round, apart from the first rounds, players of roughly equal ranking play against one another, with victory in these games providing a fairly significant improvement in one's position, and losses pushing teams a long way down the tournament table. This characteristic of the system leads to a tense, fascinating struggle. A team, even if it played against a stronger opponent in the first rounds and lost, plays for the whole tournament and can pick up points all the way. There are over 130 international-level umpires overseeing the tournament's rules and regulations. Participation in the Olympiad of almost all the finest chess players in the world means a highly unpredictable finale for the contest.
Until the end, I think until the last round, we will not be sure about winner. And for sure, we will follow many good games. And from the other side, I believe that this Olympiad will be a beginning or start for some young stars. That after a few years, as we have now here Carsten, we will have some new stars in future Olympiad that just started their games here.
The International Chess Forum has brought this number of players together for the first time. There are 148 men's and 114 women's teams taking part in the 39th World Chess Olympiad. The teams have brought together the finest players from the FIDE member countries. I think this is the strongest Olympiad in the history of chess, because almost all of the strongest players are taking part. That's to say that of the top 40 players, and that's the game's real elite, only 4 aren't taking part. All the rest have come here. We've never had anything like this before. There are a lot of strong teams and many Russian teams. That means we can say this is the strongest Olympiad in history. The Olympiad always attracts a fairly stunning lineup of participants. Almost everyone apart from the world champion, Anand, is playing here. Magnus Carlsen, Volodya Kramnik and Vasilin Topalov. That means this really is a very prestigious event. And of course the teams are really trying to win, or at least get in among the medals. We are studying our opponent's games and therefore trying to find their weak spots, trying to work out how their openings will develop. But sometimes your opponent comes out with a surprise, and you have therefore to solve your problems right there at the board. One move, one bad move can ruin a brilliant game, so you need total concentration. According to the Olympiad schedule, on average, each round should last 3.5 hours. It's clear that, for the players, important qualities are patience and perseverance. And this is how vibrant the playing hall looks if we speed up an hour's play. The young, small Siberian town of Khanty-Mansiysk for 2 weeks is the world's chess capital. This Olympiad isn't a unified competition because there are almost 150 teams competing. Half the teams, however, have just come to enjoy themselves, to mix, to get some experience. Because opportunities for players from smaller countries to play against really strong players, or just to meet and hang out with them, those opportunities only come around every 2 years, exactly here at the Olympiad. And if you go, for example, into the hall where the strongest teams are playing, you can really sense the tension there. Russia versus the US, Kramnik against Nakamura. If you go into the other hall, though, where the teams are slightly weaker, the atmosphere is far more friendly. The chess favourites, with names that are preceded by the title World Champion, play in the Mali Hall, attracting a great deal of attention from spectators. In the Bolshoi Hall of the tennis centre, weaker teams face each other across the chessboards, amateurs, and those for whom chess is really a hobby. Nevertheless, it's possible that among these thousands of players there are future stars. We don't know their names yet, but it's just a question of time. Of course, I can't really compare because this is the first Olympiad that I'm taking part in, but I think it's all been organised wonderfully, whether it's the hotel, the bus, the catering, the people or the mentality. I think it's all exceptional. I'm not just saying that to be nice to you, I'm saying it because it really is what I think. Particularly interesting games played by the strongest teams are analysed and commented on with the use of the Deep Rybka 4th version computer program. The commentary is given on a board in the hall in 6 different languages: Russian, English, German, Spanish, Italian and French. In each round, 16 selected games are commented on real time, and another 100 games are commented on and published on the internet within 20 hours of the end of the round. The boards they're playing on are also special. These boards have electronic insides. If we were to take off this upper section, the panel, you would see an electronic layout which is packed with wires and circuit boards, like a small computer. Each of these pieces has a calibrated weight, and they have electronic sensors in them. When the piece is placed on a square, preferably in the center, then that information immediately goes up these wires to the main server, which is operated by our team of specialists, the most experienced that the FIDE office, which is located in Elista, has got. And that's how the information gets onto the internet. These electronic clocks are also cabled up to the net. They also automatically show the time. That also shows the tension in the game. Who's taking longer to think? Who's thinking faster? And there's another interesting moment. We can also talk about the way that the result of a game is established. The computer program has been developed in such a way that if the king is mated, following the conclusion of the game, the king moves to the central square, e4, showing that white won this game. And on the screen, 1-0 appears. And how does black win then? Well, the black goes on to square e5, and that's how the computer shows that black has won. But if 2 kings come up against one another, that means it's a draw. This system is operated by 8 specialists from Kalmykia, from the city of Elista. They arrived a week before this tournament began and worked on installing the system in this hall and in the neighbouring hall. In total, 500 chess sets were brought in from Greece. Khanty-Mansiysk is the most northerly town to have hosted the World Chess Olympiad. For many of the participants in the competition, particularly those from warmer climes, the journey to Siberia has been a very unusual experience.
People are quite friendly, quite warm, and the weather is not as bad as I thought. I thought it will be negative 50 degrees, and it's warm. That's why I can afford to dress like this.
Foreign guests were also impressed by the heavens, which blessed Khanty-Mansiysk with good, warm weather during the Olympiad. The famed Russian Golden Autumn charmed the foreign chess players and put them in the mood for unhurried walks. This is a really beautiful city. On our rest day, we walked through town, where I could appreciate the architecture, observe people, along with the girls we were walking with, Katerina and Olga. It was a wonderful walk. I really liked the town. The competition here is very serious. In my case, this is the second time I've taken part in the Olympiad. I've been given a chance to play chess with two teams from Ukraine and Russia. Generally, our team performed very well, and we hope to finish up with a good result. We've trained over the course of a year to participate in this Olympiad. There's a very high standard of players here and a high level of competition. For some of the foreign sportsmen, participation in the 39th World Chess Olympiad has been their introduction to Russia. And in these cases at least, Khanty-Mansiysk is representing the entire country. Experience gained while holding previous chess tournaments here has helped the Olympiad's organizational committee, the administration of the Khanty-Mansiysk Autonomous Region, and FIDE to plan for absolutely everything in minute detail, from the organization of chartered flights to accommodation and services for foreign guests. There's an enormous amount of work involved. Every day the governor held a session of the organizational committee. And the Sport and Tourism Ministry also gave a lot of methodological and material aid for the holding of the Chess Olympiad. In my opinion, at present, the Chess Olympiad is the biggest,